Hello, my name is TJ Masters and I'm here with a quick video for you about a mystery plug that may or may not be leaking oil on the front of your Honda DOHC motorcycle. And I've got one of the plugs here and I'll go ahead and show you where it is on the bike and talk a little bit about why I'm calling it a mystery plug, and then we'll do a swap and put the new plug in. It's right here on the front of the cylinder head where the cam chain tensioner assembly lives. And you might be able to see in the video that mine has actually developed a crack right in the middle, which is probably why it's leaking oil. Although my understanding is that this is not an uncommon spot for these bikes to develop an oil leak, and this is a rubber piece. So if you're rebuilding your motor, this is something that should be exchanged at some point. However, it's a little bit of a mystery. It was not in any gasket kit that I bought when I redid this motor. It was similarly not bundled up with any engine seals that I bought. I certainly took notice of it at the time, but since I didn't have a replacement, I just kind of let it be. In fact, it's not on the parts fiche for the cylinder head at all. And it took a little bit of research and some Googling to discover that it's actually located on the parts fiche for the cam chain tensioner assembly, where it is part number 19. And if you scroll down to part number 19, you will see that it is simply named plug. Nevertheless, it is the only plug of its type on this bike. The bike in this video is a 1980 CB750 F, so that's the Series 2 motor that was produced from 1979 to 1983. But it's a very similar motor to the CB900, the CB1100, and the general DOHC design is something that Honda stuck with from the late 70s up until even now. So there's a good chance that this plug is on your bike, even if it's not this particular bike. Now, this is a procedure that is not going to be detailed in the factory service manual. There's very little documentation about it online. So, in the spirit of free information and information sharing, I thought I'd show you some of the different ways I'm going to try to get the old plug out, and then I'll show you how to pop the new plug in, and that should stop the leak. So the first thing I'm going to try to do, because this is already cracked, is just try to wedge the pick in there and see if I can't pop it out. But as you can see, the plug is rotating in its spot, so it's definitely not a tight seal. Because this is a rubber surface mating with an aluminum surface, I'm not going to dig around the outside and try to dig it out because I need this to stay flat and smooth to seal. So the pick is not going to be able to do it. Let's move to technique number 2, which I read about online. Alright, now I've got a small screw here with a very pointy tip, and this just came out of a box of random screws that I have, and I'm going to very slowly start the screw into the plug and give myself a handle to pull on. I believe this plug, based on looking at the other one, has a metal backing, which is why I can't push the dental pick all the way through, but the screw should be able to go in, and we're just going to go barely in. Okay, now we're in, and the screw is spinning the plug itself, so I'm just going to see if I can. There we go. So looking in here, the surface looks pretty clean and smooth. I wouldn't expect it to be any different otherwise. I can see the end of the cam chain tensioner rod poking out here. I'm just going to take a paper towel and clean up whatever oil did get in there so that we have a nice dry surface for the new plug to go in. So just a little paper towel action. And there was not that much to clean up anyway. Here I have the new plug. You can kind of see the metal backing plate inside of it. And I had originally thought to coat the edge with a little bit of gasket sealer, thinking that this is more or less a permanent plug here. We don't need to access the cam tensioner through this port. It should stay permanently sealed and tight for another 40 years basically. But I just started playing around with the plug a little bit, and it's much tighter than the old one. There's no chance that this is going to rotate once it's in there. And so I don't even really think there's space for gasket sealer. So what I'm going to do is just see what happens if I pop it in there. Yeah, that's pretty tight. I can feel it sinking all the way in. And it's in. And so I just did that with my fingers. But it is tight. I don't expect that to come out because there's no pressure there anyway. So there you have it. Pretty quick repair. No special tools required. Probably the most important part of the whole process is knowing how to use the parts fiche to identify the correct part and ordering it. In the case of something like this, with a rather generic name and not appearing on the fiche where I expected it to, it's important to know the different systems and mechanisms inside your bike, know which ones kind of physically or conceptually rub up against each other, so if you can't find a part on one fiche, you have a clue at least where to look. And in this case, I found it on the cam chain tensioner assembly fiche. Now I use a European website to look at the parts fiches because I like the way it's laid out, and I'll throw a link down in the description, but I don't order from that website because the international shipping would be unreasonable. However, if you can get yourself a part number, throw that into Google, you'll find some domestic shipping options wherever you're from. In the case of this particular part, it costs about $4.50, but I did notice that it was listed as out of stock on a few different Honda parts warehouses. So I don't know how rare this part is. If your bike is approaching 40 years of age and you have not yet done this repair, you might want to consider preemptively ordering a plug. In any case, if the video was helpful to you, throw a comment down below, like, subscribe, you know how it goes on YouTube. I'm aware that I owe a carburetor video for y'all for this model of bike. It's on my mind. Fortunately, this bike has been performing phenomenally for me. I've had no reason to have the carbs off the bike or clean them, but the next time I do, rest assured that I will be recording it for your edification. All right, thanks for watching.